Good morning, everybody. Welcome to our 10 o'clock call on Mondays with the Winner Circle leaders. Welcome, Aria. Good to see you. Good to see you, Davia. I hope I've said that right. If you're any girls out there, please turn your camera on because I can't have all the guys represent. I mean, come on. 63% of all the realtors are ladies. So you got to show up and show out. Anyway, welcome. We don't have a planned speaker today, but we want to be readily available. I showed property today. I'm working at about 134 buyer leads that I'm working on, and half of them can't even afford a toaster. That's where their head's at. But I had one guy, and John, you heard the story this morning. You said he's qualified for 565. And I took him to a new subdivision about 30 minutes out of Sacramento. And he says, Frank, I'll be quite honest with you. He said, these are bullshit. I'm not, these aren't good enough. And I said, okay. So we came to Roseville. They start at 980. And I go, you okay with the price? And he says, absolutely. And I go, the profile says you're at 565. Now you're looking at 980. My point is, ask more questions, because a lot of your people can afford more. Okay. That was just a tip. Anyway, I'm going to have it open to Nate, Elgin, and Michael. And then if you guys want to ask any questions, that would be wonderful. But I'd like to know who's got some good things going on. Michael, start with you.
Well, I got a couple people that have just signed up. We've got another listing getting ready to come up in Simi Valley. And with the buyer going through, the team's growing in that way. An agent that we just signed up there by, I forget the town, but up there by Paradise is really just going. She's already 1 week in and she's already writing offers and really things are happening for her. And I just got reached out yesterday for another agent to list their house. Not another agent, for another list.
Are you talking Paradise, California?
Yes.
That's where all the big fires were.
Yep.
Yeah.
Whole town burned down. So
yeah. They are doing a lot of rebuilding, that's for sure. That's awesome, Michael. What about you, Elgin?
Yeah, we're pretty busy, like we were talking, prior to coming on. And it's interesting. I have taken, I forgot if it's 6 or 7 listings, like in the last, couple of weeks, that are all coming on the market between now and August. What was really interesting though is I actually received 3 people. 2 of them so far have committed to listing that I had never met, that have been following me on YouTube for years. One of them is, one lady called me and she said, you don't know me, but I've been following you and your wife for 7 years on YouTube, and I'd always said if I ever decided to sell, I would call you. So I'm thinking of selling, so I'm calling you. And she told me so many different things that she had been watching videos on, that I knew that she wasn't. I knew that she wasn't lying about that. And I think it was the next day that I got another gentleman who pretty much said something similar. And right now, if everything works out correctly, we're listing his home and selling him a home. So it's like, okay. So I say that to say these videos and some of this stuff that, again, doesn't feel like you're getting anything from it or it isn't doing right. That stuff has shelf life. And I mean, it's not any, I put no additional money to it. There's no property boost to it. There's no, it's only on YouTube. And I send my YouTube stuff out in my database. But once they get in there, they may not be saying anything to you. They may not like your stuff right then, but they're obviously paying attention. And again, they get back to you on your own time, on their own time, not on our own time. So that's been an eye opener. I'll get that, and I know like Nate gets that too. You've been in your database, and you get stuff coming because just been doing it so long.
Yeah.
But to get the same result from that expansion from my YouTube channel, it was nice, because you can really easily start feeling defeated from that stuff, and then something kicks in, and you get a few of them kick in. You're like, okay, brings a little bit more excitement back to it.
Elgin, you bring up a really good point, and I think what we're trying to teach people is the power of video and putting it on YouTube. And the reason I say that is because everything that we're doing on our call, we record it and then we send it out to the group. If I were you, I would put this on your YouTube channel. If you don't have one, say, well, Frank, I don't have any content. That's just bullshit. I'm telling you right up front. Okay. Michael, you should be doing a video twice a week on working with brand new agents and getting them into production. Aria, you should be doing a video twice a week on people that speak German and people that speak Farsi, because you're trilingual, which is a hell of a lot more than us. Okay. John, you should be doing a video twice a week on working with VFW veterans and what they're going through. I just saw a stat the other day. There's a new VA rate at 3.99. I'm sorry, 4.99 30-year fix, a VA loan. You should be shouting that from the rooftops. Okay. Everything that we're doing, steal it, put on your YouTube channel. Anyway, I'm going to get off my soap opera. Nate, tell me, brother, what's going on?
Yeah, so we're just I mean the team we're doubling down. I think open houses are going to be a bigger draw. So this is for somebody if you're just wondering, okay, you don't have 1,000-person database that you're just calling like maybe Elgin and I, or you have, or people with more if we're talking to someone with less. So obviously I'm deep in my database and getting deals from there. But also we're doing open houses every weekend. We had 8 Saturday, 9 Sunday from the team.
Wow.
Everybody's out there.
That's amazing.
One of the tricks that we're doing is we're doubling up on the open houses, meaning 2 people. Some people might not like to do that. If I'll give you a tip why it is good, if you set the boundaries with the person you're going to do and you can get along with the person, right? Because when money's involved, it gets sticky when you're splitting commissions. But here's why splitting it is good if you have 2 people. So I'll go to the open house, we'll have the printouts, and I like to take paper because people still like to see it versus just have it on the computer. And we'll have a few listings set up where we can take people from the open house and go show them a few more properties. So that's working really well for us. We're getting listings off of that. We're getting the commitment from people, buyers. So that's helping my team get business. I think if you're wondering, I think it all comes down to this. And if you guys ever listen to Ricky Caruth, which is just a great coach, right? Probably for a real estate agent, he's probably the best that I know of. I mean, I love Mike Ferry and stuff, but when you listen to Ricky, he's extremely, if you're not having 10 conversations a day in any sales business, but you have to have 10 conversations. So for me, I think I'm looking at here, I've got 6 listings I'm taking right here. I even go to the open houses with my team on the weekends if you're a team leader. So I stop, I see them, I help them get people come in. So that's what we're doing, but we're just doubling down on the conversations. If I have somebody struggling in my team, I'm like, okay, let me see your CRM. Let me see your conversation log. And they don't even come to me and complain if they don't have their conversation log, right? So, but if you're having a conversation, one thing I do think too, I don't want to take up too much time, but I think for the last 6 months, that's why I asked Elgin before we started this recording, how he's doing on his listings and Mike on. We didn't get a lot of listings, but I think everybody thought the rates were going to drop and they wanted to wait, but they see things just kind of teetering and it's going so slow. People have to move on with their lives. They have to move. They're moving to Texas. They're moving to here. They're moving out. They're moving down. Their family passed away. We've got them from everywhere. So I think the listings right now is the time to stack listings and just keep stacking them. But I do think it's going to take 45 to 90 days to sell them, at least in my market. A lot of them they're not just selling with multiple offers. Some are, but most are sitting and also set the correct expectation with your sellers.
Wow. Okay.
I agree with that, Nate. I particularly on the fact that they're not all selling. It's weird when we were talking beforehand that it really depends upon certain areas. Certain areas, right now, like a couple of them we had in the San Fernando Valley. And I mean, they're on the market a week, and there's 10 offers, and it sells, $100,000 above list. Then I've got something well priced in Stevenson's Ranch, and I've had like 3 showings in a week and a half, 2 weeks. And but you're right. I think that you really have to to reemphasize one thing that Nate just said. You really have to set the expectations for your sellers up front, because we don't know which way it'll go. And I'll tell you, if you don't set the expectation up and they sit on the market for just like 5 or 10 minutes, then they're calling you, they're bugging you, or what are you doing, and why aren't you doing this, and blah, 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 et cetera, et cetera. Well, yeah, that sounds okay if you got like one, but let's suppose you get 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 of those, and they're calling you like that, and you don't have answers, and you have not really set up. You've made it seem like it's going to sell in a week. Trust me, been there, done that, and that's no fun. So I think Nate made an excellent point. You really got to set an expectation with them, and I think with the new things coming up on the 17th, you have to try to set some realistic expectations with the buyers, because as I was saying at one of the trainings we did last week, it's fluid, man. That whole thing is fluid. It's a moving target. So you got to stay nimble with that right now, at least in my opinion.
Yeah.
I think
Anybody have any? I'm sorry, Nate, go ahead.
Oh, I think with what Elgin, piggyback what Elgin's saying about being fluid and being, I think you got to be really honest and transparent with the buyers and the sellers when you're coming up, and I think like I've started already have the conversations with my sellers. I'm not changing anything. I'm still offering, even though the commission is going to go away. I've sat with my last 6 sellers. Most of them don't know anything about the city.
Right.
Heard something about it and they don't know. So basically what I'm saying is like, look, the commissions have always been negotiable. The reason you need to pay a buyer's agent commission is because, be honest with you, if you're not offering, there's people, especially in a market where homes are 500, 600, 800, $1 million, 2 million, everybody's going to be represented. So if you don't offer it and you're just waiting for me to somebody to call me direct, you're going to miss all of your buyers. And it's only reasonable that sellers are going to be that way. There'll be some discount agents that say we can do both sides representation for 3.5%, but Redfin has always been here. I just don't think it's going to be, but I think we have to be patient with our sellers and don't get offended when they ask us questions. And I think we have to explain it to our buyers that, look, this is fluid. Like, we don't really know, they haven't made all the rules and they keep changing them. As of right now, we can go into open houses without being unrepresented. But for you to go walk into a house, you might as well hire me to take you, because you have to hire the listing agent to take you. And most people don't worry about a % of commission. They want good service. They want somebody to help them find a home that they know, like, and trust. And I think that all comes down to it. And I think by being able to articulate it, if you haven't worked on your dialogue, just stand in front of the mirror and work on your dialogue. Talk to a friend. Call a role play person. And you don't even have to have a script in front of you, but you have to know what to say. You're going to get stumped.
Yep.
You have to be able to explain it.
Excellent. Anybody have any questions so far? Aria, go ahead.
Yes, great conversation. And Nate in particular, but of course to all of you champions. My question is, as we're going to have buyers that, we're going to have the buyer representation agreement and so forth. So with your listings, when you go and talk to your listings and they say like, okay, well, the game is the same, you still have to pay a buyer compensation, but since it's going to be away for sure, at least what we know for sure is not going to be on the multiple listing service in any shape and form. Mm-hmm. So going August 17, when this fully going to be implemented, mm-hmm. and the form's going to come out this week. So where are you going to advertise? How are you going to what is your mechanism, starting process of letting the buyer's agent know that you're offering full commission? You're the only agent doing it. And definitely I'm proud of the good agents like yourself advocating that.
So basically, I this is so funny what Elgin said. I don't know. Okay, so let me back up with saying, if they allow us any type of advertising site not connected, if it comes out to where we are banned from doing any kind of the Nate Butcher Group properties commission sites, like we're not allowed to do that, then you're
allowed to do it.
We are?
Yeah.
Okay.
At least in California, I know that the only thing that is prohibited, and I have been shown on a webinar every day, the only thing that is prohibited is putting any comment in multiple listing service. Okay. So even some attorneys, they said, even when you say we pay closing credit, they said that can be, if you put it too often, it might be translated as you offering commission. But
Okay.
yes,
What I'm not going to do is I'm not going to get myself put on a list to get sued by one of these attorneys who can bury me in costs because I can't afford to defend it. Okay. So I'm not going to do anything until I know. I'm just going to put my property on the multiple listing and let every buyer's agent that wants to see it call me personally, because I only use my cell phone on all my listings. I don't have an office number. So, and then they'll call me, they'll say, are you compensating? And I'll say yes. Okay. And I'll say as of right now, because as you know, and Elgin, correct me if I'm wrong, Michael, correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm not, Fanny's getting all this info and we're trying to figure it out too. I think when they submit that the buyer's agent's commission can be part of the negotiations in the transaction. Is that right, Elgin? Okay. I am basically not going to overemphasize that with my sellers. I'm going to say, look, we need to be people of our word. We said we were offering 2.5%. We need to pay that. And anybody who works with me, I'm going to try to stand up for that. But also, when I get in negotiations with a buyer's agent, my agency is for my seller. Okay. So to answer your question, what I'm going to do, if I don't know the exact rules, I'm not going to have any website telling anything about my properties. I'll just answer the phone. Like it's ringing right now like crazy. I've got 12 texts and to call and all these phone numbers to call while I'm on this Zoom right now. I'll just call them all back. If they say we are allowed to have, I can say, go to this website to see what each seller is offering in whatever the language is, then I'll do that. If I can put the amount, then I'll do that. Then I'll just direct everybody to that site somehow. But as of right now, until I know the exact rules, I'm just going to take the phone calls and says, yes, we're 2%, 3%, 2.5%, 1.5%, whatever it is. And I'm just going to encourage my sellers to offer 2.5% like I always have. I list for 6% about half of my deals. Half of them are 5%. Once in a while, if I have a past long time client, I have to take a little less. But so I always try to offer 2.5. That's still going to be my standard SOP. And then, and I think here's one good thing about this. And I think Elgin, I think you guys will agree. This couldn't come at a better time in our market. If this would have came in COVID, we would be screwed because there was 15 offers on every property. So the listing agent would just take all the deals. Right now, we have to have buyer's agents to get our properties sold. So I think all across the country, it's that way, Texas, everywhere. So I think the public is going to take a year to get educated. And then it's just going to be standard SOP. Does that make any sense? But I think, but here's what I think, buyer's agents are going to have to up their game and be like listing agents. So me as a listing agent and Elgin as a listing agent, you guys, we are more qualified than people who just drive buyers around arbitrarily and all they work as buyers, because we are used to sitting with sellers. So I've listed over 1,500 houses. So it's not hard for me to list. So now a real estate agent for a buyer, you have to be a listing agent. You have to list buyers to sign a fat contract. So the quality of the agents, if you're not trained, if you're not skilled, if you don't work on your skills, we just had Neil Weichel at our group and he talked about it's going to become a skill-based business. So you're going to have to be. So anybody out there who's listening, if your skills aren't up to par and you just sit in open houses selling 6 or 7 deals a year, 5 deals because they just walk in and you drive people around, that's not going to happen anymore because you're going to have agents who have them sign contracts, right? So, but to answer your question, I'm just going to pick up the phone and tell them what I'm cooperating. And then if I'm able to any kind of a site where I can put on the MLS for more information, check my site, go to the Nate Butcher Group, whatever I can call it.com, and then it'll have all of our listings on it and what we're compensating. But I just don't know the rules yet. Does that help? Does that help a little bit? I'm kind of
absolutely. And that's one of the things that I like about like a mastermind, because collectively we come up with some great dialogue, and also I think it's all in the conversation. But one thing that over the last couple of years, I've taught the buyer representation at our association, and I asked dominant listing agents in our market, why is it that you never sign an agreement with the buyer? And most of the time they said, well, the buyers are trusting me. I don't have to do it. They are just coming to me. And long story, I just got the epiphany now that I realized that one of the reasons that we didn't sign it because we already had the security insurance because of the cooperation in our multiple listing service. There was a commission listed, and we are basically said, okay, I'm going to get paid. It almost was guaranteed. You write the offer, you get paid. No longer that's the case. You have to have the agreement. Your agreement has to be specific, and you only can get paid the commission that you're negotiating with your buyers. So if your commission is this year and they're offering more, you cannot get more because you have to negotiate it upfront. But one of the things, to Frank's point, that I love, there is dozens of forms that they came out, and one of them, I love a lot of it. And this is the BFPI, the Buyer Financial and Personal Information. It's detailed, and it's exactly when we talk to a buyer, before we couldn't get into the financials, right? I mean, it was not an easy conversation because they said, well, are you the lender? I'm talking to the lender. You know, why are you asking me this? Now we can ask great details about their financials. So this way you already know if this buyer can even pay you compensation or not. And you as a business owner, you can make a decision if you want to represent the client, so you don't go into the contract with a bunch of clients that they cannot pay you. You're getting unluckily with some sellers that they say, you know what, I hate realtors. I don't even want to pay anything. Of course, they're going to get educated. They're going to get with it. But then you might drive yourself. So we actually become more professional. And I agree 100% with you. The listing agent have the upper hand because they were presentation driven. But for the buyer agent, they need to have, absolutely, they need to know their value proposition to the buyers. So if you cannot even give 5 items that you can do absolutely very best to the buyers, nobody would sign a paper that gives you thousands of dollars. So we have to be really crafted, going to education, going to every webinar and any place where we can learn from people like yourself, like all this group, is vitally important. The education is going to be so important. And the ones that they say, I know it all, have done this before, they're going to realize after a year or two, either they stay in business. We're going to lose a lot of people, in my opinion. But the stronger agents, they're going to be stronger. The listing agents are going to get with this fast. They're going to be stronger. And I think this sets apart the boys and the men.
Yeah. And
Arya, I could not agree more.
perfect. I couldn't agree more. And here's what's going to happen too. And you watch what's going to happen. I'm going to use myself as an example, and it's not to be arrogant, but I've done it enough I know I can get people to sign. I'm not going to have an issue, but a lot of people are. There will be people, you will be able, I bet you that I could advertise. I will help you get your buyer's presentation down and help you get your buyer contract signed for a referral fee. Where I would go, I could sit, if you're having a hard time getting somebody and you have a buyer to sign a contract, I could go sit with the person, tell the person's value, what they're going to do if I had trusted an agent, and get them to sign that contract. So the quality, see, here's what the lawsuit itself meant to hurt the real estate agent, but it's not going to hurt it. It's going to clear out the 600,000 that don't sell any property anyway. And it's going to raise the bar. So now we're like accountants and attorneys because we get paid like attorneys and executives, right? So the people who are really good at it, like I could sit in an open house and get 4 contracts signed. No problem. But what am I going to do with them after I get them? I can't show that much property. It's impossible, right? So I'm going to have to get the contract signed, and then I'll give the buyers out to the buyer's agent, and I got to see how that's going to work. But what I'm saying is, if you're skilled, you're going to have so much business, you're going to be able to turn it down, or you're going to say, I'm not working with you and you and you. I've got these 15 contracts, these people, because what the contracts do, people have to sign the contract. When you sign, you commit. So therefore, you are their person. They have hired you. So we don't have, real estate agents have been abused and let ourselves being abused. And we're crying about the fact that we're no longer going to be abused. Oh, just take me out and show me houses for a year and then don't buy. Go buy with your friend. Let the friend write the offer. That happens to real estate all the time. So we need to look at it from a different way. We get their financial information. We get them pre-qualified. They have to. They can't go in a house without signing a contract. They know that you are a skilled individual, instead of people with the perception of real estate agents like on South Park. I'm not going to do anything but get my picture taken. You guys ever see the skit? And I want to be a real estate agent, make millions of dollars. That's what the general public thinks. Well, the general public is about to get a big education, right? So now it's gonna really strengthen our industry. And I don't think the attorneys meant to do it that way, but it's gonna help us, sir. I 100% agree with you. Gonna help us.
Yeah,
Yes, one of the
I
things
agree
that
with that.
Nate, you said is part of the buyer financial personal information that I love. When we go to open house, usually we have like a checklist says, are you working with the realtor? Are you working with the lender? So kind of see if you should solicit them or not. That question is already that says, do you have any knowledge of real estate business? And what is your experience? So they already ask in the financial question directly with the buyer. So if somebody has a license and they never tell you about it, or they're basically they already have some experience, if they don't say it, pretty much, I mean, now you can actually say that, well, you answered that you don't have any knowledge. How is it that now you suddenly now, after a month's me working hard, giving you all my knowledge, that suddenly now you got your real estate license? How did it work, right? So I think you're absolutely right. I'm very excited that this is going to be really educational, and the best thing is I think it reduces negligence and misrepresentation lawsuits, because we're going to have a conversation for the first time. Most of us, I mean, I know you have done it, I know the people in this group, they are the champs, they already have done it, but most people already are feary and they are afraid to have a conversation with anybody. And I don't know how they're staying business, but they're not. I mean, you have a listings, you get a lot of listings. How many offers you get, and the agent has not even called you? It just shows up in your things. It's like, I have an offer. And I said, are you kidding me? I mean, why you didn't? I mean, I might miss the offer. That's the worst. But the thing is, well, don't you want to know if this is the only offer you're sending? Maybe you can get a discount for your buyers. I mean, what is the negotiation? Negotiation and transaction management. It was always the name of the game, but now it's going to be the only recipe to win the game. Because if you do know how to negotiate and how to really represent your client, giving presentation and really show value, I don't think those agents would last even a year into this, because they're not going to be able to work with buyers. Certainly, they never had the skills to work with the sellers. So, I mean, it would be good. I love the referral, booking the buyer broker and for a referral advertising. I book your buyers for you to actually show them properties. I think that's a great idea.
Yeah,
Elgin.
yeah, I agree. Elgin, you had something. What were you about to say?
Well, first of all, Nate, I would give you a pat on the back. The referral thing is gold. I'm gonna have to write that down, pal. That's gold. The other thing though too is I think that, and we talked about this in a couple of other masterminds and trainings that I was involved with. Number one is really, really, really don't overcomplicate this thing. Agents are don't overthink it. Don't overthink it. Don't overcomplicate it. Be very transparent. Be authentic about it. And one thing that kept coming up in the live thing, the live version we did of this thing last week, is don't worry about the ones that won't. Don't worry about the ones that won't, man. Worry about just concentrate on the ones that will. Because the difference this time with this buyer broker agreement, or whatever you get them to sign, is everybody's going to have to do it. It's not like Elgin or Michael or Frank or whatever is okay. They're having you sign a buyer broker's agreement, and then but Ari is not, or Remax is not, or it does, or the listing agent is not. You come to me as a listing agent, you still got to sign a buyer broker agreement before I can show you the house.
That's right.
So it's all going to be this. It's all going to be the same. So at this particular point, it's all in the same playing field. And one of the things that we were talking about, and I didn't know Nate long enough to know, and I know he's probably already done this though, is to telling each agent, if you're a buyer's agent, you need to actually sit down, put together some sort of a presentation, and that you need to put down items of value that you do, and to not eliminate things thinking that the public already knows that you do this. It can be little things, be very, very little things, but they should be a part of your presentation. They should be a part of your items of value, so that when you're talking to a buyer and you at the end of the day, they don't really know they don't know anyway. So, but if they can see that you're bringing value to the situation and they begin to trust you, and then you get them to sign the agreement and go on from there. And there's going to be there are going to be some people that will absolutely refuse to sign your agreement. Okay, but for somebody like me that's not like has no desire to be a buyer's agent, I don't like anybody in my car. I don't like it. So if you will sign, if I have 5 or 10 contracts signed by legitimate buyers that are looking to purchase, that to me is like a listing. And then what do? You're going to put forth way more effort into those buyers than that person that hits me up on the internet, wants information in 2 minutes. They're standing in front of the house. They want me to come see it right now. All of that. See, for me, all that's over. And which is and you don't have to feel guilty about it. So don't overcomplicate it, and don't worry about the people that won't do it. The hell with them. Go to the next person. You're not going to get all of them anyway.
Wow.
Elgin, I love it. Addition by subtraction.
Absolutely.
I think the biggest point I'm getting on the underline all this as well is that, being proactive, getting the education and knowing that all what's going on. You don't know how many agents there are, new agents, old agents. I know when I first started, I would write in contracts, and the agents that were agents for 20 years were like, oh, I didn't know that. You don't have to do this anymore. And I knew what was going on. My clients were benefiting because I knew the contracts, I knew the new laws and everything, how they've changed. If you do that and just know and realize that as an agent, buy side, seller side, you probably are going to be pulling both sides of this transaction through in the beginning, because you're going to be the one that's educated and you're the one that needs to do it. But you've got to make sure that you know what you're doing to educate. And that's going to be a strong value proposition for you to use eventually to say, hey, look, I'm pulling this on both sides. I'm doing this. I'm correcting the buyer's agent. I'm correcting the seller, the listing agent on that side when we get this through. And people are going to know that, and they're going to promote you to others as well with that.
One of the things that Elgin mentioned is that being that we're with EXP, it's already done for you in the EXP 2.0 toolkit that you can get. So you don't have to come up with it. It's already done for you. Guys, this is a fantastic call because I learned a ton of stuff. And I bet you wish you had a lot more people on here in your group that could listen to that. The good thing is it's recorded. You could send it to them, add it to your YouTube. Is there anybody else that has any questions before we wrap this up?
I would just like to add on to what you're saying about putting it on your YouTube. Don't just put it on your YouTube. If you guys, if you have a BombBomb or Vimo or whatever the case may be, you should be sending these videos directly to people that you've already sponsored or people that you are trying to get into your agent attraction revenue share. Send this stuff out to them. Again, it seems tedious, it seems boring, it seems mundane until they need it. Then all of a sudden it's premium. We got to have it, and we're going to do it. So don't just wait for them to come to your YouTube channel. I mean, even when you do your open houses and stuff, you don't just wait for them to come. You do other things to try to attract people to the open houses, right? So do the same thing with your agent attraction. Try not to get, which is a bad problem I have. Try not to get discouraged when they don't come right away or don't say what you're doing what you're supposed to do. And it's slower. It's a slow burn, man. It's a slow burn, but it tends to work. So
yeah. And all you guys out there that's got experience and stuff like this, if you're going to offer it, let's say you don't have a team, and I haven't hit my team with this yet, but I am going to tell them, I'm going to say, look, if you're out there and you're meeting all these people and you're not getting any contracts, if you can sit the meeting and say, hey, can you sit down with my partner, my team leader? He would love to meet you. And I get him to sign a contract. They're going to pay a 50-50 because I'm not going to go my time and do a 2-hour meeting. So for all of you out there that have experience, and if you'll get your skill set, especially with EXP, we have our group, right? We have people in our group. So, you could find creative ways to say, I'll meet with your clients with you. But if you do that, you're putting your reputation on the line. So you have to make sure the agent that you do that for is not a dum-dum, because you don't want to put and tell that person this is all the stuff they're going to do for you, and do it. So I don't know. We'll see. But for all you listing agents out there that know how to present, this is nothing for us, right? It's trying to train our people if we have big teams. And if you're an individual agent and you love working with buyers, that's great. We got to have buyers agents, right? You better get your skills down and you better practice, and you're going to have to practice or you're going to starve, because there's going to be good people that are going to be really skilled at doing this. So
Aria, really quick, you had something? I want to
I
wrap
just
this
wanted
up.
to
Go ahead.
acknowledge the person that doesn't show the picture is one of our newest agents, Diva Cooper. And I hope that she's very beautiful. I hope that we see at least a picture in the next meeting. And also Virginia logged in. So I try to get actually the few agents that I have. I'm not like you having a big team, but the few, I definitely gonna get it on. And I want to also say that if there is any form you see out there, do not use it, because the CAR forms are changing. That actually this week is going to be released. But if you have any form that you're using from any brokerage or is something yourself, you create a liability, because they're constantly changing, and we don't want to like have something that is not really up to the par. So
That's
just
right.
word of caution. Thank you so much, Frank, and
Okay.
everybody.
Two things, as we're wrapping this up. I'm trying to get a hold of Shannon Pyatt. As you know, Shannon Pyatt is the guru of KV Core, and I know we have Ralph over in Oklahoma City that he's also very versed on that. Shannon is on the board of the new KV Core, if that's what it's going to be called. I tried to get him to release some secrets, but he was sworn to secrecy. You had to have G15 clearance in order to talk to me. That's number one. And I'm trying to get Debbie Penny on this call before August 17th, so she can give us the latest and greatest. So I'm trying to do that for you. Guys, have a great week. Thank you for starting it off great. I'm pumped. I learned so much today because you guys are amazing. And thanks, Chris, always for being in the background and making it happen.
Thank you all.
it's always
Have a
good
good one.
for each other. I'll see you guys. Take
Thanks,
care.
Nate, for the business opportunity.